Welcome to the Not Your Average Shirt and Dress Sew Along Day 3. Today is where all the excitement begins. We begin to sew, and we don't just begin to sew, we begin to sew the knot, which is my favorite part. But first, this is the breastfeeding edition, so we've got a little bit of prep work to do before we get right into the knot. So let's jump in and see what we've got. As you can see here, I have cut out the front bodice. This is the part that the non-breastfeeding version does not have. It kind of cuts off here, and then the knot attaches to the below. We don't have that. We want a little bit of the coverage, and then we need access points for breastfeeding. If you have really great fabric that has really great stretch and recovery, you don't necessarily have to do this if you don't want. In the first few that I made, I did do it, but then the more I bought higher quality fabric, the less I needed to cut these access lines. But they're really a great feature. So what you're going to want to do before you trace out and cut these access points, you're going to pick up the pattern piece, the fabric, and you're going to lay it against your chest, right where the shoulder seams hit. And you're going to make sure that you don't cut too far down on these access points. There is a line in the pattern piece itself, but it really is a guideline. Like it goes here, but you need to know where everything falls properly for you, since every body is different. So make sure you check that before you cut anything on this bodice. Otherwise, the cut may come down below the knot itself, and you don't want that. You want it to come up enough. Okay, so we've put it on ourselves. We've measured, okay, I don't want to go past this point, and we mark it. And then we draw and cut our lines. So now here's what we have. Now, knit fabric doesn't fray, so technically you wouldn't necessarily have to do anything else to those access points unless you wanted to. In order to give it a little bit more stability as it stretches, you could do a finishing stitch, a serge around, or a zigzag stitch just to give some more stability to your fabric, depending on the quality and weight of your fabric. I did that in this one, and I've done that in the other one that I made with the breastfeeding, and it worked out great. But you don't have to do that because it really, if it's a nice quality fabric, you should be fine. But it's just a preference that I have to have that. I think it's just, I like the finished look, so that's what I do. All right, so we've cut our breastfeeding access, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take the top and we're going to overlap it about 1/4 inch. This is going to bring some stability back to our shoulder seam and pull it all together so we don't have any oopsies when it comes time to sew those shoulder seams together. So we're going to pin them together, or overlap about 1/4 inch and pin together, and then we're going to stitch down about 1/2 inch to connect those points. Once we've done that, we're going to turn the neckline to the wrong side about 1/2 inch, and then we're going to either use a finishing stitch, a cover stitch, a zigzag, or a stretch stitch to finish the hem of this neckline. And I'm going to do both of those things, and I'll be right back for the next step. All right, so we're back. I have finished the neckline, which isn't perfect, but I've zigzagged it all the way around, and I've overlapped the top of the shoulders here just to keep them in place. Now, I've got my tutorial just like you do, and here comes, sometimes can be the confusing part. So let's move this to the side. I'm on step 6, so it says starting at the bottom of the stack, place the front bodice tops, which I have right here. And there should be 2 of them, right side up. All right, 1, 2, right side up. That's the first thing. Then take the back bodice, which I have in this lovely Hello Kitty fabric, and put it wrong side up. Okay, so we have the front top bodice right side up, and the back bodice wrong side up. So those are like right sides together. Then it says take your front bodice, which we just completed, and put it right side up. It's going to look like this, okay? Line up the layers at the shoulder seam, starting at the sleeve edge, and we will pin. want you to notice something here, right here. Notice we hemmed, finished the neckline of this front bodice, and notice there's a slight gap here. That's okay, it's supposed to be there. If you look at the picture, it's there as well. So let's go pin the other side. And again, we've got the leftover fabric. This is for finishing purposes. You'll have plenty, it's just fine for that to look that way. All right, next we're going to stitch. We're either going to zigzag, stretch stitch, or serge the shoulder seams. I'll be right back right after I get that done. Here we are with our finished shoulder seams. Let's turn it right side out. All right. Here we have it. The next thing on the list, step number 8, is to finish the neckline all the way around. You can either use a 1/4 inch elastic and fold it over to a 1/2 inch or whatever, or you could just fold it down, which is what I do. I fold it down a 1/2 inch and hem all the way around. Use a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch or a cover stitch to accomplish this. All right, let's get that done. Okay, here we are. We've completed step 8. We have assembled it by the shoulder seams, and we have turned right side out, and we have folded in 1/2 inch for the finishing of the neckline. Now we're moving on to the fun part, which is the knot. All right, so we have our instructions. The page is called Making the Knot. So the first thing we need to do is fold each of these bodice top layers in half so that we can find the center. And once we do that, we will pin it. And I've already done this on both of them. Remembering that the center bodice is not where the little bump is or the little cutout is. So don't just put your pin in the middle of the bump. Make sure that you are folding it in half and finding the actual center, because it is not the hump or the cutout. All right, once we've done that, we're going to kind of X these, kind of diagonal, angle them a little bit so that we can see both sides. All right, that's the next step. We are getting so close, we're moving along. So now you can see, since I've got these contrasting fabrics, it'll make it a whole lot easier to see what we're doing here. So I'm going to start with the Hello Kitty fabric on my right, and I'm going to fold it in half. And just to secure it, I'm going to pin on the side here. Now we won't sew on the side, this side seam. That will unfold later, but right now, just for security and to keep it out of the way, we're going to pin that. And before we get started pinning anything else, we're going to do the same thing to the floral side, okay? We're going to fold it over onto itself and secure it on the side. Again, we will not sew on that side seam because that will unfold for the upper bust part. All right, so we've got both of our pieces folded out of the way. Now you can see, whoopsies, I'm attached. There we go. There we go. We've already got the beginnings of our knot. So starting from the outside and moving in without stretching our fabric, we're going to pin as close as we can get to the knot without pinning into the knot. Move this up so you can see it a little bit better. So we're pinning all the way across the bottom of the Hello Kitty fabric, as close as we can get to the knot without pinning into the knot. All right, so we've done that. And we're going to do that to the floral side as well. Okay? We're going to fold it in half. Oops. Now you might have to do some manipulating here to make sure it's not folded, because you want to make sure that there are no weird twists going on. That would not be good. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold, or pin, I'm sorry. Pin as best we can. As close to the knot as we can get. Take your time with it. It's not a big deal. You'll get it. It's just got a tiny bit of manipulation to do. It's not a big deal. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing. All right, so now that we've pinned all the way across here, let me do it this way so you can see a little bit better. Okay, from side to side, or from the side into the center on both pieces. Now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we are going to stitch, whether it be a serger or a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch, from the outside edge to the center as close as we can get to the knot without going into the knot. And then from the other side into the center as close as we can get to the knot without going into it. Now, if you are kind of afraid to go in too close, that's fine. What you can do is you can go in as far as you're comfortable, and then take a look at it, unfold it, take a look at it, because you can see this was the first one that I made, and you can see I didn't go in far enough. You see this? So you've got these holes right here that you don't really want. And what I could have done, should have done, is gone back in and stitched a little bit closer with my machine. I didn't want to my serger was worrying me, so I stopped too soon. But I should have gone back in with my regular machine and just stitched closer to the knot, which would have made it more enclosed, which is what you want. So I say all that to say, we're going to stitch from the outsides to the center without going into the knot. And I'll be right back to show you how that went. Okay, here we are. As you can see, I have stitched from the side in as far as I could go, and from the other side in as far as I can go. Now I've taken the side pins out, and now we're going to unfold it. Now what you'll have to do is, you can see this is folded up. You'll just have to manipulate it a little bit. Make sure everything is folded under the way it goes, the way it should be. So no raw edges are showing or anything weird is turned up. All right, so now get a good sense of how pretty our knot is. Now, if you try this on, or you take a good look at it, like look here, you can see I've got a pretty good sizable hole here. I didn't get close enough into the knot. Go back and fix that. You can do that even after you're done. Once you finish it, you've tried it on, you're like, oh, I didn't get close enough, go back and fix that. It's not a big deal. You'll just go back in, and you'll pull it, and you'll get in there as close as you can. Not a big deal. Super easy fix. But that's it. That is the knot. How pretty is that? So at this point, here's what we have. This is the front. This is the overlay of the top knot, and you can see my breastfeeding access is just fine right here. All right, here we are with our next step. Now, you could see, you should have done this in the very first step. I forgot to remind you. But when you made your markings for your breastfeeding access, you also should have made markings on the sides here. There's a marking on the pattern piece. It's pretty clear in step one. You need to make sure that you have these. Now, that's for the purpose of lining up this top bodice here. Okay, your goal is to kind of have it like right here. Now, it's really up to your body and your preferences. Many times I've not gathered at all, because if you have more, if you line up the bottom of your let me do this side, of your top bodice here, you see you've got all this leftover fabric. So if you line it up to here, to the armpit here, you've got all this. So you will do a basting stitch, a long stitch here, so that you can gather if you like. Sometimes I gather, sometimes I don't. It just gives a little bit of a different look. And some of you, depending on your cup size or what have you, and your preferences, you won't have to gather at all. It's really just up to you. So, but you'll need to try it on. You'll need to take it and put it over your head and try it on and make sure that you like what you see. Let me see if I can't show you here. Okay, so you see that I'm pulling it down, trying not to get away in the way of this microphone here. And see, it comes down really far. So if I take a look at where my marking is, which is right here, I need to pull it up here. And maybe that's a better look, but you also have to make sure that your nursing openings are covered. So you just decide what you like. Do you like it to come down and angle down, or do you want it up further? Okay, to where it just comes right under the bust line. All right, I'm going to gather mine this time. So once I've gathered, I'm going to pin the side seams of the side seams of the upper bodice and the front bodice. And I'm going to pin those, and then I'm going to base stitch them together. All right, so I'll be right back once I get that done. Okay, so here we are. We have finished our knot. We have gathered. You can see my beautiful gathers here. We have gathered if we need to, and not if we haven't, but we have basted it to the upper bodice. And there is our knot. It's so cute. And this fabric looks terrible together, but the knot itself is so cute. So we're done for the day. We've accomplished the knot. I really can't wait to see what you all accomplished today. So head on over to Facebook, to the official Facebook thread, and show us a picture of what you accomplished today. I want to see how awesome your knot is, whether you did the breastfeeding or the non-breastfeeding. I can't wait to see it. So tomorrow we do easy stuff. We do the side seams and the sleeves. We're almost done. Day 4 coming up tomorrow. See you later. Bye.